This conference will now be recorded.
I like that one.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Call the meeting to order. It's the Committee of Adjustment, and we have quorum, so we'll get started. My name is John Woodbury. I'm the chairperson of the Committee of Adjustment, and I've already called the meeting to order at 9 o'clock. The committee members include members of council. However, we sit at this table as Committee of Adjustment, not as members of council. And our jurisdiction lies solely with matters of consent and minor variance applications. The secretary of this committee is Holly Malner. This hearing is to consider applications for minor variances and consents within the Township of Southgate, and is held under the provisions of the Planning Act 1990. The hearing will be in accordance with the Provincial Planning Act, the Municipal Act, and the Township of Southgate official plan. Can I get confirmation of, I need a mover and seconder to confirm the agenda. Brian and Martin. Okay, and any comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none, is anyone opposed to that motion? Okay, that is carried. Any declaration of pecuniary interest you can declare now or at any time, and pass on the paperwork to Holly, and she'll do with it whatever it is she does with paperwork. Next, I'll get a motion to adopt the minutes from our last meeting. Mover and seconder, Barbara and Martin. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, anyone opposed? And that is carried. Okay. Oops. There we go. So we'll start the first hearing. It's Ines and Louisa Martin. And just let me pull up the notice here. So the subject land is concession 11, part lot 32, concession 12, part lot 32, geographic township of Proton. Lands are further described as 146397, and that would be the fire number. The purpose is to sever the two original township lots, being concession 11, part lot 32, and concession 12, part lot 32, which have inadvertently merged and put them back into their original lot dimensions. Both have approximately 318 meters of opened and maintained road frontage, and will be about 40 hectares in area. The effect will be to create two farm parcels of approximately 40 hectares in size, each with 318 meters of frontage on Gray Road 9 and South Gate Road 14, respectively. Can I have confirmation that the notice was posted, please?
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. I can confirm that the notice was posted.
Okay, thank you. And good morning, Clint. Can you go over any comments received from agencies and public? Oh, Barbara, go ahead.
Through you, Chair Woodbury, I just wondered if we lost member Shearson because his video isn't on, and for quorum. Okay.
Yeah. No,
I'm here. It's just bad connection for some reason, so it just says turn my camera off, but I'm here.
Yeah. I saw you flip in and out a couple of times like that, and I figured that's what it was. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, can I have Clint? We're back to you. Hi. Let's start this again. Hi, Clint. Comments from agencies and the public.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. I'll read the first set of comments here. Where are they? I had them here. So the first set I have are from the County of Gray, and essentially, after flipping through it all, provided that positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority, the county planning staff have no concerns with the subject application. And we also have comments from the Public Works Department indicating the Gray Road 9 is county jurisdiction, and Southgate Road 14 is a rural asphalt road and therefore township jurisdiction. And in the comments below on their comments, it says Southgate Side Road 21 between Gray Road 9 and Southgate Road 14 from approximately 300 meters south of Gray Road 9 is a no winter maintenance road. So essentially accesses would be off of either Gray Road 9 or 14, Southgate 14. And the last comments I have here are from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, and they indicate the application is acceptable to the SVCA staff. Yeah, okay. And there are no comments received to date from members of the public.
Okay, thank you. So next, if the applicant or agent is present, you could identify yourself, stating your name and address, and any comments you'd like to make at this time. Not hearing any. So we'll go to the committee members. Any questions that you have at this time?
Martin here.
Yep, go ahead,
Thank
Mark.
you, John. Good morning, Clinton. That report, page 20 from the Public Works, where it did mention that it was the no winter maintenance road. Looking at the map with that new lot from Gray Road 9, does that mean, I'm assuming any house and any driveway would be in that 300 meters? They wouldn't be going any farther than that down the road, would it? Like they're bound by that 300 meters for their driveway and house and whatever eventually they might put on there? How does that work?
Yes, so when this is splitting the property back into 200-acre parcels, so one frontage will be on Southgate Road 14 and the other will be on Gray Road 9. The Gray Road 9 lot either has to apply to the county for an entrance permit if they require one from that end. If they use the side road, such as the county is suggesting, they have to stay within that 300 meters because you have to develop on an opened and maintained road. Otherwise, that goes against our bylaw, which requires that as a minimum for receiving a permit.
Okay, so that 300 minimum would apply to any development on a winter road then, or?
No, not necessarily. They're all different. It's just a matter of how far in the actual road is, and because there's likely development on the other side of 14 the side road 21, pardon me, that's within that 300 meters that the township goes in and probably that just goes in and turns around essentially, but cleans that first little bit out. But they certainly wouldn't go all the way down.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was the only query I had. Thanks, Clinton.
Okay. Any other, Brian?
Just to carry on with that train of thought a little bit, Clint, if the proponent that owns or takes ownership of the north 40 hectares, if they applied to the county for an entrance permit off of Gray Road 9, provided sight lines and everything else is agreeable, the county would pretty near have to give them a permit to come in off 9 if they wished, right?
I don't like to speak for the county, but generally that's the way it goes. But I do note that in their comments that transportation says that entrances should be from the side road, but I don't think they also know that the side road's closed, so, or non-winter maintenance, so.
Fair enough, but I guess my point was that if there's no other entrances, they have to give them an entrance permit off of 9, provided that all sight lines and everything else is safe, of course, because every lot is allowed one entrance.
Yeah, if it's safe, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. And, well, reasonably, there is an entrance right across the road from it. So hopefully. And Barbara?
That was going to be my comment. I mean, there is no winter maintenance beyond the 300 meters. So they have within that 300 meters that they could get an entrance permit, provided it too was, you know, a safe access. So there is already a house that has an entrance permit on 21. I would be concerned about the amount of entrances in that area, given the number of shops and the fact that that there's commercial trucks coming and going in that area as well. So it's a busy road now.
It is. Any other comments? Not seeing any. So we'll go on to Clint, planning comments.
Okay. So my report's before you there. It's a fairly straightforward application. The lots had inadvertently merged when they were placed in the same name. And so you've got two original parcels. Mind you, there are small severances off of each one, but because of their size, they are still over 40 hectares each, which in our zoning bylaw and our official plan permits new lots to be created that are farm size, which is our 40 hectares. So it meets those policies, and therefore there's no reason not to grant it.
Okay, thank you. Next, we will move on to any members of the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak in opposition? Are there any further questions or comments from the committee? Wow, that might quick that part. Oh, Barbara, go ahead.
I wanted to follow up on the fact that they were severed at one point into two 100-acre parcels. And within that, they're allowed that severance. But I mean, I've asked this before, Clinton, and I mean, once a severance, always a severance if it was a severance before a certain date. And I think they're changing that now so that it doesn't necessarily merge on title going forward.
Yeah. Through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are changing that. Unfortunately, this merged before that effect came into effect. There's also, these lots are not severances. They're original township lots. So they were part of the Crown survey. So that's why they merged, is because they weren't actually done by a consent process. They were just surveyed, and that was the original survey. So that's why they went back together.
Interesting. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to either approve, defer, or refuse. Michael. Oh, you're on mute.
I'll make a motion to grant.
Okay. Seconder, please. Martin. And any further discussion? Is anyone opposed to that motion? And that is carried. Thank you. For a minute there, Michael, I thought you couldn't do audio and video at the same time. Once you got your video up, your audio was wacky. So yeah, good luck with all your stuff there. Okay, just going back to the next one, except for the guy with the computers having problems here. Okay, next file is let's see, Tyler DeFrederico, and that's it's okay. The location of this is Plan 480 Block J, Lot 6, RP 17R 2918, Part 1, Geographic Village of Dundalk in the Township of Southgate. It's also described as 121 Main Street West. The purpose is to vary the provisions of Section 5.7, allowing for a reduction in the number of required parking spaces for an accessory unit. All other provisions of the bylaw shall apply. And that is that. Can I have confirmation that notice was given properly, please?
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. I can confirm that proper notice was given.
Okay, thank you. And Clint, we'll go back to you with comments from agencies and the public. And I'll sip my coffee.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. So the first set of comments I have here are from the Public Works Department. They indicate a safe access can be provided. The road is county jurisdiction though at the present time, being Main Street. A road widening is not necessary, and it is not a load restricted road. It is in the wellhead protection area B, which is applicable to dense non-aqueous phase liquids products, and that's managed through education and outreach programs. The Grand River Conservation Authority indicate the subject application does not contain any features regulated by the Conservation Authority and will not be providing any comment. The County of Grey Transportation Services have reviewed the subject application and have a comment stating only one entrance is allowed for each lot of record. An entrance permit is required. The Forestry and Trails Department have reviewed the application. The property is located at 113 meters from the CP Rail Trail and separated by Dundalk Street, and therefore have no concerns. County planning staff have no concerns with the subject application. So that's all of the agency comments that I've received at the present time, and I have no comments received from members of the public.
Okay, thank you, Clint. Barbara?
Through the chair, the number of comments that you just recited are not included in the eScribe. This is for the, and I just want to make sure I'm on the right file. It's for the secondary suite reduction minor variance for parking, or am I on the wrong file?
No, that's the file.
That's the file.
Okay.
How many
So there's additional,
comments did you?
I can only see 3 of the comments, so maybe they just haven't been loaded up yet.
I'll leave that to Holly.
Yeah.
Answer there.
No, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Next, if the applicant or agent is present and wish to speak. Oh, Brian?
Sorry to interrupt, John. I just wanted to comment or ask a question regarding the county's comments. They seem to, by reading the county's comments, it seems to imply that there is currently no entrance to this property. Is that correct, Clint? Because looking at the aerial photograph, I'm thinking that there is a parking area there just to the,
Yeah,
I'll call it the west of that parking lot.
well, there is an entrance there. Whether or not it's it's ever been permitted is a different matter.
Oh, I see. I see.
You know what I mean? So the previous owners may never have received a permit. I know if it was the MTO, you can't transfer entrance permits and you have to apply for new ones all the time. So.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll go, if the applicant or agent is present, if they'd like to make a comment, they can identify themselves and move on from there. Okay, not hearing any. Committee members, any questions, any questions more than that? Barbara?
Through you, Chair Woodbury. So they wouldn't be able to use, well, like, the secondary suite is going to gain access from where? On Main?
Through the driveway on Main, if need be. Yeah. Assuming that person has a vehicle.
Right. And it's very close in proximity, if I'm not mistaken, to the crosswalk that currently children cross during the school year. And that's not the main crosswalk down by the school. We already have a problem with parking on the road in around that area. I mean, the province is requiring us to infill, and we're creating higher density, and we're encouraging these secondary suites, which I think is great because we definitely need more diverse options on housing. But we're not planning for the parking consequences in the future. Has the secondary suite been built? Or is this to see if they could build a secondary suite, if they could get the exemption from the parking?
It's through the chair. It's my understanding that it has been constructed. I don't know if it's received final occupancy yet. That's through the building department. I can appreciate the conundrum that the province has put us in, and to be honest, this particular government doesn't really care about traffic congestion in my mind. More cars, the better, as far as they're concerned. They are trying to address a problem, saying we need more housing, and they're throwing everything they have at it, and not necessarily weighing all of the consequences of some of those things like parking congestion and that sort of thing. That being said, in this particular instance, going from 3 spaces down to 2 and still having the same owner, that's manageable. There are 2 spaces there now. You could say one's for the apartment and one is for the owner of the building. So it is possible to keep all of the parking off the street in that scenario. When they start getting more and more cars, that's when the owner has to draw a line, or they start getting ticketed. So those are the other options we have to employ. So those are my comments in that regard.
Okay,
Follow up?
Barbara? Yeah.
Well, I see that our chief building official is on the call, and I'm just wondering, my concern is that we are from time to time putting the cart before the horse. They're getting approval to build, they're getting a permit to build a secondary suite without getting permission for the variance in advance. And we already know that traffic or parking is already at a premium in downtown. There is going to be people parking on the road. There's no guarantee the owner will remain the same. Is there anything that we can do to educate about the parking? This is another issue, but my concern is that we are not planning for the parking in advance of allowing a secondary suite or a house to be converted to 2 semis, or high-rise multi-duplexes. And I would like us to look at that going forward.
I think in fairness, we are planning for parking. There's been discussions about as the medical center moves up to the new building, that some of the lands there and along the rail line would be used for parking for downtown and things like that. So there have been discussions at the council table on parking downtown, but I'll let Clint answer this anymore. Go ahead. And then Martin.
There's a number of things sort of put together in those comments. I'm not sure if Bev is at his computer. He's logged in, but he may be busy with someone else at the moment. Bev only issues permits based on what people apply for. He doesn't issue them in contravention of the bylaw. So at the time when the permits were issued, they were issued under the assumption that it was part of the same house. It was an addition sort of thing. However, that situation changed, and Bev went out there and spoke to them about that, and now we're at this stage. So that's sort of how that rolled out. It's not that Bev is approving things before we get approvals for parking. So he is online there. The other thing with respect to planning for parking, it is a bit of a challenge. There is only a finite amount of space in downtown, and the province is continually saying we need to increase densities. They're going to have to park somewhere eventually, or they're going to have to not have a car. And unfortunately for Dundalk at this stage, we don't have the infrastructure for public transit or dollars for that matter, because they're super expensive. And therefore we need to be cognizant of that. And we try to have that through our zoning, through requiring X amount of parking per use for the uses. And when we vary them like this, we still have to make sure that we can do that. And I think we can, based on what I said earlier, that we're still allowing two, where it allows one. It's all under one ownership still. The accessory apartment isn't going to be a separate owner. It's still under the same property owner. So that property owner still has to manage the parking for that lot between the two units. So we deal with the property owner, and therefore if there's 3 vehicles there, we go to the property owner and say, hey, no, you've only been approved for two units or 2 parking spaces. So if you have more, you better fix it.
Okay, thank you. Martin, you had some comments.
Yeah, comment and maybe an odd question. From what Barb was saying about the crossing guards there on both sides, Yonge Street and Main Street, you said, Clinton, that it'll be a Grey County entry permit, right? The apartment buildings there, that's Grey County land, isn't it? Would it be possible to avoid Main Street and put one little driveway off an entrance permit from Grey County land there? Would that solve the problem? Or I know it's kind of odd, but just looking at the aerial photograph.
Are you meaning right on the corner there?
No, farther back at the back end of the property, like.
Oh, that laneway there?
Yeah, go up and yeah, would that be possible? Because it's Grey County permit on the road.
Wide enough. It's not really wide enough to do that with.
Oh, okay.
And it's also township owned, but it's not wide enough to do anything like that with.
Okay. And it wouldn't be feasible to drive up there, the apartment laneway, and put it right at the back of the house then either, even though that's Grey County land?
No, that's, like I said, that's township land at the back there. That's a township road allowance at the back.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were gonna, maybe at some time in the future, the township looks at selling off part of that laneway for just that reason. That's certainly an idea if the township doesn't have use for it. But that certainly hasn't been considered to date.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Your planning report, Glenn.
Okay. Again, so they're applying for the a reduction of one space, and with that you have to meet the 4 tests for a variance. And I've gone through that in detail there in my planning report. Just bringing it up here. So in reviewing the PPS, it doesn't really speak to parking in general. The parking sort of this site is unique in that it's considered a downtown commercial site in our official plan, which permits a whole variety of uses, which would certainly require a lot more parking than an accessory apartment would require. For that reason, I think it's that this is probably one of the least impactful uses compared to some other uses that could potentially go on the site. As I've said, the variance has to be minor in nature. So going from 3 spaces down to 2 is what I would consider minor in nature. And also, as I mentioned, the owner can split the remaining 2 between the 2 units. It has to be desirable and appropriate development. An accessory unit is both considered desirable and appropriate for the area. In the official plan, it states that on-site parking requirements for the downtown commercial area may be satisfied through municipal or privately owned parking areas located in close proximity to the use. And the municipality may also accept cash in lieu where the parking can be reasonably accommodated off-site. As I said, they can likely manage the parking for the 2 units on-site, being 1 per unit. Beyond that, they would have to seek parking off-site somewhere else and not on the road. The cash in lieu has not typically been done by this municipality, but certainly given the cash crunch and need for parking, it may be something worth considering in the future for the purchase of additional land or what have you for a parking lot somewhere in or near the downtown. The last test is it has to maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. In this case, it's to the parking requirements are to ensure that there's a sufficient space for the uses being proposed. So in my opinion, there's still sufficient room for each unit to have 1 parking space, as I said. So it's not like you're saying they need to have some other form of transportation, which is difficult in the rural area because you have to drive just about everywhere. You're just reducing that to say they can only have 1 vehicle. So I think it's still appropriate, and therefore I'm recommending that the variance be considered and approved.
Okay, thank you. Just before we get to you, Michael, we'll go to the public first and then we'll do all the committee comments. So is there anyone from the public that would like to speak in favor of this?
Sorry, am I allowed to speak now?
Sure. Just name and address for the record, and then you
Yep.
can make your comments. Yep.
Okay, perfect. My name is Cassandra Kearney. My address is 327014 3rd Concession, Maxwell. Postal is N0C1J0. I am the partner of Tyler DeFrederico. Unfortunately, him and his mother were not able to attend the meeting due to work. But I've been listening in, and I just wanted to first take the step to apologize for, yes, not getting all of our permits and everything in check beforehand. But I know that I've been listening, and the need for housing in Dundalk was the reason that we were doing it. Not only family housing, but single and couple housing. There is not much to offer currently and at affordable rates. So that's essentially why we did what we did. And I know the front tenant currently has a vehicle that doesn't go anywhere, and the back tenant only has one vehicle. So parking has not, since everything has gone on, been an issue. So I'm hoping that it stays that way and there will not be any issue with reduction in the parking space capacity.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah. I'll just ask too now if there's anyone else that would like to speak in favor of this. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, we can go back to council's reports and go to Michael in a second. I just wanted to, or not council, committee. I just wanted to mention too that being in the downtown area, we do have, I know, seniors and some others without vehicles that the close proximity to shopping and to things like that is good too for some of this stuff. So just being at the housing committee last night made me think of that type of stuff. We've got Michael and then Martin.
To you, Mayor. I'm just kind of wondering, is there enough room, Clint, that the cars can pass on the side so the person that's parked in the back unit can get by the car in the front unit without going on the property beside them? It's hard to tell up there, but it could be a problem if the person on the front parks there and the guy in the back can't get out. I mean, right now it's not a problem, but we know that tenants do move, and I just don't want, I know it'll be a landlord problem most likely, but if the car drives on the other property, then it becomes a bylaw issue. So I want to make sure that we're not creating another issue here.
So this is part of the comment I made about the province not really caring about that, because they specifically changed the requirements of accessory units to basically saying that you had to provide at least a spot for your one spot, but they could be in tandem, meaning one behind the other. And because there isn't enough room to pass in that laneway there, but the province won't let you refuse it because of that. So it definitely will be a landlord problem if the tenants don't get along. And I would hope it doesn't move out to where it becomes a neighbor's problem as well. But that's, again, that's what the province has basically said, no, you're going to do this however you need to do it. And if you have to pack them on top of each other, fine, is basically how they've done this. And I don't particularly agree with it, but they've taken away the policy for us to say no in that regard for parking.
Okay, thank you. Martin. First time today, Martin.
Well, John, there's a first time for everything.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, this is the 500th first time I've ever done in the last 4 years. So,
Well,
but anyway, it is what it is. Clinton,
Yeah.
with the aerial photograph, the half of the building in that yellow rectangle, are we looking at a driveway in that yellow rectangle? A new driveway? A new entry permit? No?
No.
So with the variance then, does that dictate a minimum size, or is it just an extension? lengthwise, or is it going to be beside, is it making the driveway wider, basically?
No, it's not making, through the chair, no, it's not making the driveway wider. There are two existing spaces there on the side, right next to the property line, essentially.
Yeah, okay.
That's where it ends. If they wanted to do anything beyond that, then it would require further amendments.
Okay.
Well, and
Thank you. Yep.
yep, and the way the size of vehicles are going, those 2 parking spots will probably park 3 vehicles in the near future anyway. So, Barbara.
Through you, Chair Woodbury. First, I'd like to thank Ms. Kearney for speaking and addressing our concerns about the process. And we do appreciate the ability to have additional housing within our community. Clinton, there's a requirement that you can't just pave the front lawn. You can only have so many spaces. Is there something that gets registered on title about this minor variance so that should the property be sold in the future, a future landowner will have that information or that restriction to the number of spaces?
The variance does go with the property in the bylaw. And I have to be careful here. It does that so long as the existing bylaw is active or is maintained. So as an example, if we were to go and implement a whole new zoning bylaw, all of the old variances go away and they become legal non-conforming uses then. Okay, so right now, under this current bylaw, it's recognized and it's kept in the property file and it's kept in the bylaw that, hey, these are the variances for this property. So that's how we keep track of that.
If I may, then it would be up to the purchaser's, legal search to contact the township to look at the bylaws, whereas oftentimes they might just do a title search. Can this minor variance be registered on title?
That we typically don't do that, no. I don't recall ever having it registered on title.
I'll just ask it one more time a little differently. Can we require it to be part of the consent, that it be registered on title?
Okay. It's not a consent, it's a variance to the bylaw.
A variance, sorry.
So I would want legal opinion on that. I don't believe you can.
Okay.
However, I'm open to being told differently.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments from the committee? Okay, not seeing any. It's that time that I'll ask for a motion to, okay, Brian, let's hear what your motion is going to be.
I'll move that the variance be granted with any conditions that the planning department implies or puts onto it. I haven't got the motion or the recommendation right in front of me here. I apologize, sir, but.
Okay, actually, I'll see. I'll read this one. That we receive the staff report, and that the minor variance be granted to provide relief from the parking provisions of the comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit one accessory apartment only.
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah. Do I have a seconder for that? Martin? Okay. Any discussion? Barbara?
So this doesn't explain that it limits the parking. It just says that we grant relief from the parking provisions of the comprehensive zoning bylaw to permit one accessory apartment. It doesn't actually say that it it doesn't explain it in that clause that we are what the minor variance actually is from 3 to 2.
Okay, we can amend that to include that if that's.
If
the
that
way.
would be agreeable to the mover and seconder, just so that it's very clear what we are providing relief of. Because the way it's reading, to me, it sounds like we're providing a minor variance to allow the secondary suite, but we're really providing a minor variance to reduce the amount of parking required.
It does say relief from the parking provision.
But it doesn't say what those parking provisions are.
Where is my?
Right?
Even if it just said from 3 to 2 spaces, my suggestion.
Brian?
I wonder, Mr. Chair, if we're overthinking this a little bit. Currently, the property is allowed to park 3 vehicles there. So they're asking for relief from that requirement to put it back to 2. So in fact, it's reducing the congestion there, in my mind. And it's simply relief from the current zoning bylaw that requires you provide 3 spaces, and we're going to change that so that they'll only have to allow for 2. It's fairly straightforward in my mind, but I'll stand to be corrected. Thank you.
Okay, let's see if Clint will correct you or not. Clint, go ahead.
To add clarity to it, you could, I looked at the notice, because in the notice you have to specifically state what section of the bylaw you're actually varying, and it's section 5.7, which is the parking provisions in the general provisions. And it deals in it specifically talks about accessory apartments and dwellings and that sort of thing. And in that, we're just varying that section to allow for one accessory apartment to be established. So it sort of implies that it's going from 3 to 2 because it's already at the maximum as it is now. So I think it's okay, but if you want to add that clause about 5.7, that's totally acceptable as well.
Okay, go ahead, Barb, then Martin.
Sorry if I'm trying to be too picky. And to your point, Clinton, if a future council were to create a brand new zoning bylaw, that wouldn't apply anyway, or it could perhaps not apply 5.7. So that just complicates the clause. So just basically, they have 2 spots as it is right now. They want to add a secondary suite, and our bylaw requires that it have its own parking spot, which would create a 3 parking spots. They're not granted 3 right now because it's not technically a secondary unit. So I understand what we're doing is they currently have 2 spots. That's all that they can have. Thank you.
Martin?
I was just reading the actual permit, where it says file A622, and in a rectangle in there it says approval of this application would provide relief from the bylaw for 3 to permit a secondary unit on the property. Currently, there is only enough space to accommodate 2 parking spaces on the subject property, which are for the existing semi-detached structure. The require of 1 additional space for the secondary unit would be waived with the approval of this variance. That says, we're supposed to have 3. We're reducing it to 2. I don't know how more simpler that could be. So,
okay.
if
all right,
Yep.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Barbara.
I withdraw. I mean, now that you're referring back to the original notice, it does clearly state it. It just doesn't state it in the granting clause. That was my point. I withdraw my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Well, seeing none, I guess it's that time for a motion to grant, refuse, or defer. Oh, you
Sorry,
can't move the motion.
I cannot.
Oh.
We did have Member Milne and Member Martin move to approve it.
Oh, yeah.
Or to grant
I knew
it,
that.
suppose.
That was a test. Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
Okay. Any further comments?
No.
All right. Is anyone opposed to the motion? And that is carried. And just as a note on that, Cassandra, I know, well, I think probably all of us drive past that building frequently and notice the amount of work and how it looks now is really, you know, a tip of the hat to the area. And thank you for all the stuff you've done there.
Not a problem at all. It was our pleasure. Sure, it took a lot more work and a lot more money, but it's what we do.
Yeah, well, we're glad you do it.
Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
And
Bye.
Brian, I think, has a motion now that we adjourn at 9:52. So we're adjourned, and I won't see you guys again until 1 o'clock. So see you then.